What if one tiny piece of metal could freeze a whole factory? And what if that piece mostly comes from one place? When the magnets don't arrive, the line doesn't move. Your future car suddenly becomes a pile of parts. Even your phone depends on special ingredients you never see. And those ingredients can get stuck at the border. The world runs on ships and boxes until one box doesn't get cleared. Then the dominoes start falling. Here's the nerve-wracking part. It doesn't have to be a full ban. A slow maybe can be enough to cause panic. So why does this matter to you? Because the magnet bottleneck can squeeze cars, chips, and even national defense. Rare earths are like invisible vitamins hiding inside modern gadgets. You don't notice them until they're missing. They help wind turbines spin and electric motors turn. Think of them as the muscles that make machines move. They also show up in places you'd never guess, like chemicals used to refine petroleum. Tiny inputs, huge impact. Wait until you see what happens next. The scary power isn't just in digging them up. It's in the step that turns rock into usable vitamins.
Funny name, right? Rare earths sound impossible to find, but the real problem is making them usable, not just finding them. Imagine 17 kinds of marbles all mixed together. The hard part is sorting them perfectly without a mess. Mining is only the first scoop. After that, the sorting factory decides who controls the whole game. So even if your country has a mine, it can still be stuck because the next step can be somewhere else. The wild twist: some non-Chinese ore still gets shipped to China to be processed. Without processing, it's basically a rock with no superpower. This is the black box. Chemical separation, like a giant washing machine for molecules. It's complicated, expensive, and messy. A key method is called solvent extraction. Think oil and water tag team that pulls different elements apart. Do it wrong and you ruin the batch. And here's the gross part. The ore can come with radioactive stuff like thorium or uranium. That means waste you must handle carefully. Building safe systems for that waste costs real money. Many places don't want it in their backyard. Now for the twist. If a country avoids the dirty step for years, it can lose the whole industry. And rebuilding it later is like trying to rebuild a demolished bridge.
China doesn't just dig these metals. It controls the hardest steps: refining and magnet making. One simple snapshot: about 60% of mining, 91% of refining, and 94% of magnet manufacturing. That's a huge handle on the supply chain. Even though China has about 37% of global reserves, it built the bigger superpower: the factories that turn ore into high-value parts. Think of refining like a toll booth on the only bridge. You can own a car, but you still have to pay to cross. And here's the scary question. If the toll booth owner starts checking IDs, who gets waved through and who gets stuck in line? Control doesn't always look like tanks or missiles. Sometimes it looks like a hand on a valve. China can also use quotas like ticket limits and licenses like hall passes to shape who gets how much. Inside China, the industry got more consolidated into huge groups, making it easier to steer production like one big machine. One group dominates light rare earth regions, another controls heavy rare earth regions. That's like owning both the bread aisle and the dessert aisle. Plus, a lot of know-how lives in years of practice and patents. If you don't have the recipe, you can't bake the cake fast.
In 2025, China even launched a rare earth price index, like a giant public scoreboard for what these materials cost. That scoreboard is tied to the Baotou exchange, where a big chunk of China's output is traded. So the price story starts there. The numbers get broadcast like weather reports for industry, but unlike weather, the storm can be influenced by policy. When quotas tighten, prices can jump, like fewer tickets to a concert making scalpers happy. And that can pinch factories outside China. Here's the sneaky advantage. Domestic buyers can get steadier prices, while foreign buyers get the roller coaster. Two worlds, two price tags. So even if supply isn't cut off, uncertainty spreads. And uncertainty makes companies hoard like squirrels before winter. The biggest prize isn't the raw metal, it's the finished magnet. NdFeB magnets, the muscles inside modern motors. Magnets turn electricity into motion. No strong magnets, no smooth robots, no fast motors, no easy scaling. A stronger magnet is like a tiny superhero that can lift more. That's why industries love rare earth magnets, power in a small space. But then everything changed. Companies design motors around specific magnet behavior. Switching suppliers can take years of rechecking and retesting.
So it's not like swapping a cereal brand. It's more like changing the engine in a plane while it's already flying.
Even if you find new material, you still need proof it works every time. That paperwork time is part of the chokehold, too. In 2025, trade tensions heated up again, and rare earths moved from boring chemistry to big leverage. The valves suddenly mattered. Instead of one loud embargo, the playbook became more precise. It's like using a dimmer switch instead of flipping the lights off. Export licensing is that dimmer switch. It adds steps, delays, and questions without ever saying the word ban. Think of it like a school hall pass. No pass, no leaving the building. And the pass can ask who you are and what you'll use it for. Those forms can reveal dependencies, who needs what, and how badly. That's like handing over your game strategy before the match starts, and delays alone can be deadly. Factories hate maybe, because planning needs a clear yes or no. Another twist, the flow can keep moving to some countries while slowing to others. That can split allies and create arguments about who gets supply. So when did the tap turning ramp up? Late 2024 into 2025, with licenses required for rare earths and also gallium and germanium. Here's the sharp turn. Big, blunt bans can create legal blowback, so the tools got more lawyer-proof and harder to challenge. In October 2025, a new trap appeared, a rule reaching beyond borders. Even foreign-made products could get pulled into Chinese controls if they use Chinese origin inputs. It's like a poison pill in the recipe. Suppliers can feel forced to choose, serve a restricted customer, or keep access to the key ingredients. So the pressure spreads outward. It doesn't just hit one company, it makes everyone around them nervous. Wait until you see the logic. If the ingredient is everywhere, the rule can touch almost everything. That's power through ubiquity. Then came targeted hits. Major U.S. defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon were barred from buying Chinese rare earths or related products. That kind of move aims at readiness, keeping crucial systems harder to build or maintain. Even a small bottleneck can slow a giant machine. But the mess doesn't stop at the top. Big contractors have to chase thousands of smaller suppliers to figure out where magnets and materials really came from. Supply chains can be like spaghetti, long, twisty, and hard to trace. And when rules tighten, every strand matters. And uncertainty is its own weapon. It makes planning expensive, and it makes companies overbuy just in case. So the tap doesn't need to close. Slowing the flow can still squeeze profits and force tough choices. That's why precision matters. It can hit specific targets while still looking like normal paperwork. It's control with plausible excuses. Sometimes the delay can be framed as safety or compliance, even if the real effect is the same. Fewer shipments arriving. Here's the gut punch. One missing component can stall a whole product line. A billion-dollar plan can trip over a gram-sized part. And when supply tightens, prices can split. Foreign buyers can pay a storm tax just for being outside the favored lane. At the same time, China cracked down on illegal mining in heavy rare earth regions like Jiangxi and Fujian in 2024 and 2025. Illegal mining had acted like a leaky valve for supply. Closing it tightens the state's grip, especially on critical heavy elements. When the unofficial routes shrink, the official quota system matters more. That means fewer ways around the rules. So supply discipline gets stronger. And the most critical heavy rare earths can become scarcer longer. But then everything changed again. Once bypasses disappear, every buyer has to deal with the main gatekeeper. That's a whole new level of leverage.
You might think chips are just silicon, but chip making also relies on rare earth chemistry hidden deep inside the process. One big choke point is cerium oxide slurry, like a special toothpaste that polishes wafers super flat. Without it, the next layer can't be printed right. This slurry isn't just sandpaper. It reacts chemically while polishing, helping avoid defects, especially for the smallest, most advanced chips. And that's the scary part. There may be no easy drop-in replacement that performs the same way. A disruption could slash yields or halt top-tier production. Lithography tools also depend on rare earths. Lanthanum helps make special glass that bends light the right way, like super-powered eyeglasses for machines. Even some lasers use neodymium in crystals. It's like putting a boost gem in a flashlight so it can do harder jobs. And while they aren't rare earths,
Gallium and germanium are also critical for some semiconductors and faced Chinese export restrictions starting in 2023. Now zoom to defense. One modern fighter can need about 920 pounds, 417 kilograms, of rare earth materials. That's a lot of vitamins in one machine. Some magnets must survive extreme heat and stress. Adding elements like dysprosium and terbium helps them hold strength when things get hot. A nuclear submarine can need nearly 9,200 pounds of high-grade permanent magnets. Quiet, reliable power depends on them. Guided weapons use magnets for steering, too. When it's a one-shot system, reliability isn't optional. So why can't the U.S. just build everything at home quickly? Because the hard steps, separation and magnet making, take time, money, and permits. New Western plants must follow strict environmental rules from day one. That's good for people, but it raises costs a lot. China built much of its capacity earlier, when costs were lower in ways that wouldn't be allowed in many countries today. That head start is hard to erase. Analysts had estimated looser past enforcement gave Chinese producers a cost edge, around 15 to 25% versus strict compliance competitors. That gap shaped the whole market, and building new projects to modern standards can create a 30 to 40% structural cost disadvantage compared with Chinese production. That's why governments often step in. Plus, there's a knowledge barrier. Years of experience and lots of patents. It's like trying to learn a secret magic trick by watching from far away. So the response became N1, meaning anywhere but China. The goal is a supply chain that can't be squeezed by one valve. In the U.S., a key piece is MP materials at Mountain Pass. But mining alone isn't enough if processing still depends on someone else. So the Department of Defense backed a mine-to-magnet push, funding separation and magnet manufacturing in Texas. That's the missing middle step. They even used a price floor, $110 per kilogram for NdPr oxide, like putting training wheels on a new factory so it doesn't crash from price games. Allies matter too. Malaysia hosts the only major separation facility outside China, but it also faces tough politics over radioactive residues. Japan learned this lesson early and pushed hard on diversification and recycling. It cut reliance from about 90% down to around 60%. Not perfect, but safer. In November 2025, a deal in Kuala Lumpur paused the squeeze. The U.S. suspended some tariffs, and China agreed to issue general export licenses for rare earths, gallium, and germanium. But it's a fragile truce, not a reset. The licensing machinery still exists, meaning the valve can be tightened again whenever politics heats up.